Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Fencer Prince, or SoundCloud, SoundClick. Yo, in all points, Donald Trump. Yo, I just listened to the menagerie that is the 200 pastors having a 2-hour meeting with Donald Trump and making not 2 cents come together. Like, they, Donald Trump, he can't stand black people. He hates the poor. He does. He is, in my eyes, I mean, he can't stand the Mexicans. Oh, I love the Mexicans, but now he loves them because they threatened him. You know, and oh no, I love the Mexicans. He can't stand the poor. Period. I mean, he's a billionaire who cheats on his taxes every year, who was given millions of dollars by his daddy to buy up a bunch of real estate and then turn it into a profit, and that's the only thing he's interested in. There is no pastor on this earth that can convince me to vote for Donald Trump in any shape, form, or fashion in the current state of things. I mean, it would have to be either Donald Trump or a mealworm. And I'm serious. And I would seriously consider the mealworm. I really would. Because this man is, I mean, he just made fun of a reporter who has a physical impairment. His arm is bent, and he was like, because the dude has a physical, something that he can't help. He was born with. He didn't do it to himself. It wasn't an accident. He was born like that. And Donald Trump made fun of him because of his physical impairment. And he thought it was funny. And he did it during one of his speeches for his platforms. So he didn't do it like, with a bunch of friends. He did it in front of everybody. And on television. Publicly. So this debacle of a meeting, this spiritual debacle of a meeting, isn't worth a damn to anybody with good common sense. I'm telling you something. Last night I was praying, and I was praying. I try to pray every night. I really do. I try to pray when I get up, and I try to pray every night. And sometimes I fail, but for the majority of the time, I'm like, I try to pray every night. It's important before my body goes to sleep and my spirit travels. I want my spirit to be safe, but I try to pray. And last night I was praying about power and wisdom. And I said, Lord, I would rather you give me wisdom than power. And, God talks about seeking wisdom. And because wisdom can get you out of a lot of situations or just so you won't even get in it. So I pray the Lord make me wise because I would rather have wisdom than power. I just would. I just would. People are like, well, I'd rather have power, for this, that, and the third. And I'm like, if you had wisdom, you wouldn't be in those situations unless God put you in them. Now, I don't want to sound too preachy here, but, when you have wisdom, discernment comes with wisdom. And when you have those two elements working in your favor, you start to see through things that are you start to spiritually perforate those walls and those just I don't even know what the word is for it, but the facade. You start to perforate the facade that is placed before you, and you'll see that the majority of these highfalutin, high-fashion, high-profile pastors who don't know anything, because one of them was interviewed, and they was like, well, what did you say at the meeting? Was any policy bring up? And there was no policy bring up, not one policy. Let me tell you something. There are almost 1,000 black men have died. Almost 1,000 this year. The number is like 865, and it just went up because they just killed another person. So like almost 900 black men died from the police alone. And please don't give me that, well, black people kill black people all the time. Yes, but black people don't have a badge on. Those are common criminals that you're talking about. And I don't justify that at all. I'm saying those are common criminals. They're not the people who we pay through taxes to protect us. Those people are blatantly killing us and going on vacation with their wives and getting the GoFundMe from the rest of America and coming out with $500,000. You think that Michael Brown incident it just went unchecked? You think that the other police officers didn't see that? And like, this dude lost his pension but got $500,000 off of the citizens of America, white people, from a GoFundMe? You think that didn't go unnoticed? You think them shooting us and then going on vacation, you think that doesn't go unnoticed? You think those officers are like, oh, shoot, let me tell you something. There was an officer this year in a small town who actually shot up his own car and set the car on fire and said it was a black man. All the police came out ready to kill the black dude and then found out that the officer did it himself. That is a prime example of what's going on. And no policy was spoken about the officers killing people. I'm just going to say people. Because it's like in like 4,000 or 5,000 a year. As a matter of fact, they are considered a terrorist group now. They are. They're like, oh, we need to go and stop the insurgents. Just like the people in France, there was 179 of them killed. 179. How many police officers killed somebody in France? Or in England? Canada? How many? Wouldn't even stack up close to how many are killed by police in America. And then wealth. Donald Trump is a billionaire who made his money off of housing. And that's how you build wealth. You get a loan because you own a house. You get a loan, you borrow it against your house, you take that and you turn it a small business loan, and you make a small business, and then you grow your business, and now you have wealth. None of that was even brought up because we had, as far as the housing was considered, I forgot the statistic, but basically when the housing market crashed, a lot of those homes that black people had and had equity in those homes, they lost all of it. So now they're renting instead of buying. And you know, when you rent instead of buying, you're not building any equity. No equity. You can't borrow against that equity, which means you can't get any loan for your own business. And that's just the facts. And the percentage of us that have been trying to get a small business loan went down like 6% within like 2-3 years. Just declined, and now it's at like 1.6%. So the number of black Americans who have their own business is like 1.6 million. But when you look at how many millions, I'm going to tell you how many millions of black people are in America alone. According to the what is that? When they take the census, according to the Census Bureau, there's 42 million of us. 1.6 million of us have our own small businesses. And guess how many of those have employees? Very few. So when you say you have a small business, I mean, you can have an online business. But it's not a storefront. It's not a brick and mortar. You know how much it costs to put up a brick and mortar? About $750,000 to put up a brick and mortar. That's how much it costs to build one. So when most people get a storefront instead of building one because they can't afford the capital, they go right ahead and say, well, this one is an old UPS storefront that used to be here. So we'll go ahead and rent that instead of actually building a storefront. But even those people might have, 2 employees? So the point is that black people are not winning when it comes to the game of the one, the housing market, two, of being self-employed, and then three, of employing other people, which means we're just losing the economic game altogether, and we're losing it as we're going. Like it's declining. It's not going up. People think it's getting better. How? It's not getting better. People are saying the job market's getting better. Yeah, the job market may be getting better, but they can fire you and get rid of you whenever they want to. Not to mention, when you have an education, when you're 21 years old and have an education, they would rather pick a 30-year-old white dude or white person, white woman, white man over you who just has high school diploma. You, education 4 years from Cornell. Them, backwater high school somewhere in the middle of whatever, and they get a job more than you. This is a fact. This is a statistical fact. Sorry, I'm a little sleepy, but this is a fact. So they talked about none of those policies. They talk about implementing none of those policies. They talked about just what if, or maybe we should look at. Nothing that Donald Trump can what they didn't ask him to lay down nothing, and they do these corny prayers, and it just hurts. It hurts that they would even try to force this on black people and try to make us think that this man has anything positive to do with black people, and it just pisses me off that it just pisses me off that these people will try to put our people in a stupor, that they would actually go there and say that this meeting, and all Donald Trump could say was this meeting was great, it was wonderful, it was great, it was not great, it was not wonderful, it was a complete waste of time, and it did absolutely nothing for the black community, not one thing, and not one of those pastors are worth the weight in salt. They're not worth a dang thing. They're not worth anything. Not nothing. And they all should need to be taken off the pulpit because they are not a representative of God. Not whatsoever. Not even in the slightest. They need to drive their fancy cars and put the car in neutral and roll it into a dang ditch somewhere. Get on the bus with the regular people and find out how to live. Humble themselves before God. That's what they need to do. They need to go out to some of these hoods and see how these people are living before you try to convince, and then go door to door and try to convince those people. Try to convince those people right there that Donald Trump is for them. And Donald Trump is going to instate some kind of policy that's going to have them not be afraid. I'm going to tell you something. I went downtown today, and I hardly ever go downtown. I went downtown today. I'm about to end this video. But this is one reason why I'm heated. Because the black man is being hunted. We're being hunted, hung, black men, black women, and children. We're being hunted. We're being hung in jails. We're being shot in police cars. We're being shot in our own vehicles. We're all of this, and you said nothing about this. I'm going to tell you why I'm heated. I was going downtown today. I'm on a one-way, 3-lane street, middle of downtown, cop in front of me. We are in the turning lane. So he's making a left. I'm about to make a left. And then I realize I need to go straight. So I get off of behind him and I go straight. He comes off of the turning lane and gets right behind me and just sits behind me. I make the left. He makes the left. I'm telling you, they're doing that just to try to intimidate us. But I wasn't scared. I was like, man, I don't have no time to be afraid. I'm like, I'm just going to just do me. Like, I'm not going to look in the rearview mirror and try to have a staring contest with you. You just trying to start stuff. And this happens to people all the time. And they're doing stuff just because they feel like it. Listen, I'm going to go. But they're hunting us. And these bastard pastors, bastards, said nothing of Michael Brown, who got shot in the face on his knees with his hands in the air. Nothing of Tamir Rice, who was 12 years old and got shot, and they said that, and the cops said that it was his own fault. A 12-year-old boy. Like, boys don't play with BB guns. Like, okay. All right, I'm out.